New Orleans, 1981. It was the hottest summer on record. Humidity coated the city like a mass of rancid honey. If ever the city owned up to its ancient nickname, the wet grave, it was in the summer of 81. The murder was brutal and archaic. The victim, Frank Bousseau, was powerful and important. A call was placed for outside help. The NOPD wasn't above begging. The Beaumont agency was asked to consult, and that's how we got wrapped up in this mess. The freshly baked evidence file was kinda thin, not much to chew on, but we had some leads. We scoured the city and see what we could dig up. I started at Laveau Corp. They always seemed to be at the center of politics, crime, and even magic. Getting past the receptionist was a breeze, but their CEO, Charlotte Batten, was a different story. She wouldn't give me any details at first, but I pressed on her a little, and she snapped. I left her to cool off. I had something that was bugging me, something personal. The killing had similarities to Maria's murder. Breaking on the wheel was an 18th century manner of execution. This had to be a pattern. I needed to return to our home. Maybe I missed something, some connection. As I walked into the house, some thug jumped me. He got me good at first, but thankfully, I had some extra help. Those Laveau suits would need to try harder to get me off this case. Something bigger was going on, something we weren't meant to be digging into. This hired goon, those dead Saturday scumbags, the fanatics of the Inquisition. Hell, even the bloody casket girls were showing an interest in the case. And now, dark magic was starting to appear, ritualistic and sinister. How could we stand up against the very lower of death, let alone the monstrosities lurking in the shadows? There was so much more to this case than we ever imagined.
Hello everyone, how the devil are you? So jealous of that amazing narration by Sam Smith. I wish I could emulate that and keep you in the mood, but you know what I'm like, I'm excitable and fast speaking and high pitched, and it's launch day for the Dark Quarter campaign with Lucky Duck Games and Van Ryder, and man, what a day it's been. The campaign's been live for, 3.5 hours, and it's going incredibly. Hello everybody in chat, let's say hello. Hello Matt, viewership board game shot. Hello Andrew Waves, nice to see you, sir. Hello Valeria, nice to see you on YouTube as well. Andrew says, can't decide if I want the minis or not. Obviously I want them. Well, during this stream, I'm not going to try and convince you that you want them, but I have a few things planned to celebrate launch day. The first thing is we're going to look through the campaign. We're going to have a look at what's happened there so far. There's loads of backers. We're over 2,000 backers already, which is honestly, sincerely incredible. I believe, Touchwood, Vince might correct me in this, but I think this is stepping up to be maybe the biggest launch that we've had at Lucky Duck, and getting to do this alongside Van Ryder Games is just an absolute treat. Dr. Sign on Twitch says, congrats on launching. Thank you so much. It is a real thing. I did take a screenshot just before I clicked the launch button because it does still have the excitement, despite I'm nearly into 2 digits in Kickstarter campaigns and crowdfunding campaigns now, but it's still exciting every single time. And Raytrack says, we need a Spanish version. OMG. We hear you, okay? We hear you. And you know what? I'm going to talk about language versions. I'm going to talk about the game and answer a lot of your questions. So if you have questions, pop them in the comments, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, and I'll try and answer everything on today's stream. So, hello from around the corner, says Andrew. I'm at the Manchester airport waiting for my delayed flight. Oh no, Andrew, I'm sorry it's delayed, and I'm glad that I can keep you company. So safe travels whenever it does get underway. So, yeah. Let's talk about the campaign. I'm going to go through it all, and we're going to talk about different pieces in it, and then we're going to talk about some of those questions that we've had. We've been updating the FAQ. I think I've added Yes, 12 questions in the FAQ already, because lots of people have similar questions and different trains of thought. So we've been updating that throughout the campaign so people can obviously go in and get their answers. So at only 3.5 hours, we're at 2,182 backers and over 2,000, nearly 2,210,000 euro. Very close, very close. Hopefully we'll hit that. Frank saying it was either this or the DC deck builder Kickstarter. I couldn't afford both. I went with Dark Quarter. Frank. Hey, do you know what? Our industry, the board game industry, it's still very much a luxury industry. You know, we're not in a must-have commodity, and it's always tough when you have to make a decision between two things that you'd really like. So I'm really grateful that you've been able to get a pledge for the Dark Quarter, and whatever game you end up choosing and backing, no matter who you are, enjoy your games. Right? That's the main thing. That's what we're here for. Brady Sadler. Did anyone see the news that this gentleman is working with us at Lucky Duck Games? Did anyone see that? Did anyone get as excited about this as I do? Great launch so far. The page looks so good. Brady, you can be dang sure that I'm going to pull you onto a stream someday, sir, and have you talking about not maybe all the games you've done in the past that I adore, but what you're working on with us as well. Because I can tell you, everybody, that's something epic for the future. But for the future, today we focus on the Dark Quarter. Rolling with Rock, lovely to see you. And it's, I feel like Bree's got the hog all the time with you, and I haven't yet. But it's a pleasure that you're able to join one of my streams. I know you won't need it, but good luck on the Kickstarter, friends. Rolling with Rock, thank you so much. If you haven't checked out Rolling with Rock on Twitch, I highly recommend their channel. So yeah, going to go through the campaign, talk about all the different elements. If you have questions, share them as we go, and then I'll touch on some of the kind of frequently asked questions as well that people have been asking as the campaign's been live, because we've had quite a few and a lot of kind of coming up, which is brilliant. So let's get into it. First things first, watch the trailer. If you missed the trailer at the start of this live stream, go back, forget me, use that amazing feature that Facebook and Twitch had that lets you go back to the start and just watch the trailer, because Oniro and George and his team at Oniro did an amazing job with it. And it's just honestly a blessing to get to work with people who are so creative, so talented, and can take, and I'm not even joking with you, can take me holding my phone, zooming it around the table and saying, this is kind of what I would like, and then they bring it to life in a gorgeous trailer, and it's like, perfection. It made me so happy. Raytrack says, I love your latest games. And the fact there are no Spanish backers is because there's no translation. I totally get that. I know Last Level is not doing well financially. It is a tough time, but really need this game in Spanish. And continues with, I'm in love with Destinies and Chronicles of Crime series. You do an amazing job with every game. Raytracks. Oh, big heart with fingers. Thank you. So yeah, do you know what? Let's take a moment to talk about language translation. So the first thing that has to be really made clear is that this is a huge endeavor. So one scenario, the only one scenario that we've made so far, is over 30,000 words. Now, translating that in itself is really quite a big deal. But there's a lot more than just the direct word-to-word translation that happens. There's the implementation of the fact that you can interact with anything, with any character at any time. You can scan different items and do lots of different interactions, which means we're not just taking like an introduction or narrative and translating it. We're actually having to implement it into the app in such a way that no matter how you decide to move around, no matter at what point you visit a location, whether you've discovered a thread that you should have before or not, and making sure that all works, which means the Dark Quarter has a big translation dependency. It's really quite a technical thing to do. So we're focusing on the campaign on English and French, two languages that we at Lucky Duck, of course, can do. Now, I want to be open and say that we have communicated on the campaign that we expect the French translation and indeed the German translation to probably arrive around 3 months after the English version of the game gets to backers. And that's purely to allow us that time to refine and improve and really do a quality translation. And we don't want to rush that, and doing multiple languages simultaneously with such huge amount of words, we're talking 25 to 30,000 words per scenario, is such a massive amount of work. So what does that mean for localizing the game in your languages? It means a lot of potential work for the companies that might want to do it. Now, we have an amazing team of people here at Lucky Duck who are very experienced in getting games localized in other languages. Like, for example, Chronicles of Crime, I believe, is in 26, although Michal in the team might shoot me because it might be more than that now, but I think it's 26 languages, which is incredible for any game. Now, that is a really tough thing to do when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of words in your base game alone. So there's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of effort that goes into translating, and we have to then look to those partners and see who would be interested. So I'll tell you right now, we're doing it. On the campaign, we have English and French. There will be a German campaign at some point, and we'll announce the date as soon as we can, separately run with our partners at Spielschmied. I'm not going to say that correctly. And we're really actively on the hunt for partners around the world who might want to localize the game in their language. So your energies, your requests are super appreciated, and just know that we're like totally on it. And just to say, Board Game Shot said the trailer is awesome. Good job on Nero team. Honestly, it is incredible. Rolling with Rock says, "Oh, thank you. I'm an equal opportunity Lucky Duck lover. Would be happy to stream with you sometime if we can make the times work." Yes, being here in the UK makes it a little difficult to stream with our stateside friends, but thank you so much. It's lovely to see you. And Dana, hey Az, can't wait for this game. Me neither. Me neither. I'm not going to lie to you, Dana. And thanks for explaining it. Hey, Raytrax, you're incredibly welcome. I know it's not the most desirable answer, but hopefully it provides a little insight, and we are working on it. Oh my goodness. So Frank has a question. I know it's not recommended. Okay, hold on. I know it's not recommended to sleeve cards that you have to scan because I hear it can cause scanning issues. To be fair, most of the time it doesn't, but in the right lighting with glossy sleeves, especially not matte sleeves, we do just recommend not to do it for safety and that guaranteed effectiveness. The QR codes and phones these days are pretty robust that you really shouldn't encounter issues, but we have to play it on the kind of lowest common denominator on the safest side. As I said, I sleeved my Destiny's game and had no problem scanning. Yes, as I said, it's not that unusual. My one minor complaint is the Destiny box did not support storing sleeve cards in them. Will Dark Quarter support storing sleeve cards in the box? So, Frank, I actually don't know the answer to that right now. Hopefully, if we can do it, we will. But as I say, we tend to try and slide people away from sleeving just to encourage them to keep them unsleeved for safety, because and the Dark Quarter is one of these games, you'll not be shuffling them. You will be handling them, but they'll generally just sit in front of you on the table. You won't have a hand of cards. You won't have to shuffle cards. So, yeah, I can't say 100% either way, but I do hear you. Twan says, David Lockwood, what do you say, my friend? Oh, David Lockwood in Lucky Duck Games is, quite frankly, one of our maestros of bringing games to multiple different territories. If you know David, you know that he is a man who's got his fingers in all of the pies around the world trying to bring games to more people. It's wonderful. Didier, I'm late. Sorry. It's okay. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Better late than never. And Natalie says, I hope Siegfried is listening to you. It's not every day that translation work gets acknowledged with such accuracy and passion. I don't know about accuracy, but I will always add the passion. There's a lot of work to be done in translation for sure. And thank you, Didier, for the congratulations. I super appreciate it. So yeah, sorry, Frank, I can't say 100%, but I'm keeping it in mind to share with the team about the sleeve cards, because I do understand that it's something a lot of people in our hobby like to do. We like to protect our games that we love, right? It's a big thing. So that was all about the trailer and language translations. Oh, see, I don't. I'm not going to give away anything, Juan. There's apologies if I'm murdering the pronunciation. I know we're on it. We just need your yes. Okay, I'm going to share nothing. If you're watching this live stream, you may have just got a tiny spoiler about a potential language that's coming in the future. Casey, who's been a legend in the comments, is here. Woohoo! I'm glad someone over in the Kickstarter comments let me know you were doing this. Casey, welcome. It's lovely to see you. And Casey is coming up with some brilliant ideas in the comments. In fact, I kind of tempted to go to the comment section now to call them out, but maybe I'll focus on the campaign for this live stream. Okay. So there's us, just to be meta. Look, there we go. This is going to get confusing. I better skip past this quickly. So if you haven't already seen the campaign, what is it all about? It's all about becoming a Beaumont agent, a detective in feature length. These are 2 to 3 hour long scenarios that are really ingratiating and big, deep, gritty, mature content stories for you to dive in and explore the open world of Dark Orleans, this supernatural fictional version of 1980s New Orleans. Hello, everybody. Casey, much love. And no, not too soon for gameplay questions, Ishal. How long a scenario would take? Roughly 2 to 3 hours. And it's fair to say that that's pretty consistent across different player counts. Solo can be quicker because obviously you're not discussing options and making decisions together. You're just going through yourself, which can always be quicker. But generally, you're going to be spending 2 to 3 hours per scenario. And hello, Camilox007. It's lovely to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. It's been a while since I streamed. All in straight away, says Francesca Laura. It looks like L.A. Noire, but as a board game, which I think will work for better. And with voodoo, hoodoo, not the terminology I think we're going for, but I'll quote it. And werewolves, yes, please. Hey, that sounds amazing. You absolutely nailed it. So I'm going to read it in my best husky voice, and this is the only time I'm going to put a husky voice on. Okay, and then I'll not do it again. Okay. New Orleans, 1981. I'm not going to make it through reading this in this voice. It was the hottest summer on record in New Orleans. Humidity coated the city like a mass of rancid honey. Jazz riffs leaked out of the French Quarter, valiantly trying to pierce the sweltering air. If ever the city owed up to its ancient nickname, the wet grave, it was the summer of 81. And now we know why I'm not a voice actor. So the NOPD, the New Orleans Police Department, are out of their depth. They've got a case on their hands that's looking really grim and has a tinge of the supernatural to it. And what do? They put a call into the Beaumont Agency and our misfit bands of different detectives who have their own trials and tribulations to deal with, but are now going to get put on this case. So it's 1 to 4 players. 16 plus, and I'll talk about that in a second. And as I mentioned, 2 to 3 hours game time for each scenario that you play. The content in the game, we're putting as mature 16 plus. Now, this is a bit unusual for board games, right? As you know, this looks a little bit like what you might see in those ratings for video games, because there really isn't a board game rating system out there. But we've kind of decided to give this kind of supernatural content and themes warning, because there are very gritty elements in the game. There's a lot of foul language. There is definitely some descriptions of ritualistic acts and dark things that are happening. And we've only touched upon it in one scenario at the moment. And there's going to be much more to come as you get deeper into the story. There is a lot of also what I would call content warnings to be aware of. So the characters do deal with personal trauma. They deal with loss of family and friends. They deal with avoiding issues and alcohol consumption and substance abuse. There are a lot of undertones in this that are for a very adult and mature audience. So we recommend 16 plus because we think that's really an appropriate age range for the content matter. It's worth saying, though, that to play the game is not at all difficult. You can really sit down and get into it immediately. It's not a heavy game in terms of rule set at all. But we wanted to be really clear about that content warning. So it's right there, right after the initial image, we put it there, so you know what you're getting into. Gary Clyde says, the Scottish New Orleans is different, different but not bad. I need giggles recorded for the app to set the mood. Yeah, I think it might completely ruin it if I'm giggling. Milu says, hello, lovely to see you. Is there an introduction scenario that we can watch? If you have a look in the gameplay section of the page, there are several previews and I believe a couple of gameplays, but there'll be more gameplays coming. I know Quackalope is doing both, I believe, a 3-player and a solo gameplay over the next couple of days. So there will be for sure. Will you be releasing an official TTS or similar demo? We won't be. We don't tend to do digital previews or digital gameplay of games that involve an app, because it actually is another stage of sort of separation from the tabletop. So you have a digital app happening with the digital hybrid game and a digital tabletop, and we feel that the experience with that is just not brilliant. It's not really the way to do. Plus, the game is so narratively driven that it would really not be a fantastic experience, we feel. Irish, not Scottish. Yes, Northern Irish. I tell all of my stateside friends, you can call me Irish, you can call me Northern Irish, you can call me Scottish, you can call me British. Just don't call me English and we'll get on just fine. Toby says, will it be like Destiny's where you have to choose from a set character list for each scenario, or can you play who you like? Fantastic question. So in the game, the base game, there are 4 characters. In fact, I'm probably going to make a mess. I think I've got the campaign right in front of me. Let's just scroll down and have a look at the 4 main characters. So we have, we have John Robichaud. And I'll take Toby out of the way for a second. There we go. We have Julia Paris. We have Constance Moreau. And we have Winter Mullins. So when you play the game, you will choose one of those characters to play as for that scenario. Now, the base game has 4 scenarios in it, and they are linked together in an ongoing campaign. So if you do pick a scenario for pick a character for the first scenario in the base box, it's recommended that you continue playing with that same character all the way through the 4 scenarios of the base box. Now, you can have multiple campaigns running at the same time, so you could do the first scenario multiple times and have different save profiles. That's how the app will be set up, so you can have multiple play groups and multiple campaigns if you want to. But when you choose this, what you're really doing is you're playing the same scenario and same main plot story, but the character you choose will have very specific own subplots and personal dialogues and personal storylines that are unique to them. So if you play, for example, 2 players and you pick 2 characters, and then next time you play 2 players again with 2 different characters, you will not see any of that first character, the first 2 characters' storylines or options. You'll only see the second one that you're now playing, because each character is really critical to the whole development of the campaign. And you will be keeping your abilities and your skills and the unlocks that you'll have essentially as you're going through scenario to scenario. Unlike Destinies, where you just played as kind of a knight or a civilian or a witch, more of a generic character, these are personal, evolving, changing characters that you will decide how they do. To give you a very quick example, if you choose with your character to take a life or to save the life of someone that you're interacting with, that will be remembered. That will have an impact on both your character and the world and the subsequent scenarios. Very much a campaign experience. I hope that answers your question, Toby. Clan says, I'm all about that file language. I'm going to let you all in a little secret here. I was writing the Kickstarter update, and it was very hard for me not to swear in it because some of the characters in the Dark Quarter are humorously foul language, and some of them are just foul language all the time, fairly spoken all the time. And Baron Samdi, who appears at some points, and you've seen him in all the artwork, there's no big surprise there. He's going to make some appearances, has a very potty mouth. And I really was tempted to write the Kickstarter updates in the tone of Baron Samdi in the Dark Quarter setting, because it would have just been hilarious. But I thought, no, some people are going to read these updates in their emails without any context whatsoever and just see me being incredibly profane. I thought I better be professional. So, but yes, be warned, profanity is in the game. Casey says, is there a moment in your game in which you're walking down Bourbon Street and 20 different people tell you that you can guess where you got your shoes? Because that's my experience. Well, I can tell you that we're in the middle of doing daily unlocks right now. We actually just unlocked our first daily bit of content, and the first unlock that we did as part of the Yesterday Demon and Other Stories expansion was actually Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street, depending on what way you say it. So I can't say it won't be, Casey. I can't say that won't feature in the game. There's definitely the chance that it will. And on that topic, actually, what I should maybe say, if I go to the right place, when the game's released, we will create a community editor where you can make your own scenarios for the Dark Quarter. So, Casey, if you want to make that precise thing happen, where you force the detectives through 20 different NPCs waiting to tell them where they got their shoes on Bourbon Street, you're going to be able to do it. And I kind of want to screenshot this and make sure it happens now. But yeah, I think the tone of the Dark Quarter is maybe a little darker than that. Francesca says, love Quackalope. Do you know what? We really love what's happening over there, the Quackalope team, how they're expanding and all the things they're working on with Shira and Devin and Jesse. They're putting out amazing videos, and they've got even more people turning up now, actually, whose names are escaping me, with lots of great gameplay, lots of footage. So we really appreciated they've taken the time to cover the Dark Quarter. It makes us very happy. Kimilok says, why Kickstarter, not GameFound? There's a couple of different reasons for this, but honestly, the main one is that we're co-publishing with Van Ryder, and Van Ryder have been primarily on Kickstarter, so we decided we would come here and sort of meet with where their audience are right now. It's also like a brand new game with, an IP in this Dark Quarter setting that no one's ever heard of before, so we felt Kickstarter was maybe a really good place to bring that and reach as many people as possible. Nothing really more detailed than that. Andy says, will each scenario be standalone like Destiny's, albeit with an ongoing story? So I think I answered this earlier, but just in case, the 4 scenarios in the base game will really be tied together. They're not going to be standalone, that you will carry over your character traits and your abilities and skills, and your decisions, importantly, that you make will carry over. However, we are unlocking a new scenario every single day in this free expansion called The Yesterday Demon and Other Stories. And those will have scenarios that are completely standalone. They'll just be independent ones for you to play. How mature is the language? F-bombs, oh plenty, or what, says Jay. Okay. obviously your mileage may vary, depending on what you consider offensive or not. I am 90% sure that there are F-bombs. Not as far as Gary says they've replaced all commas with F-bombs. It was actually semicolons, but you're really close. No, it's mature. It's mature. We're mindful, to keep it realistic. Then it's not in there for in their sake. The characters that would act this way. Not all of them do. Yes, you should expect some F-bombs. Black says, how complicated is this from a technical standpoint? I'm thinking of trying to convert a non-gamer to playing this, and they will balk at tons of fidgety rules. So I'll say, Black, the weight of the game and how difficult it is to learn is incredibly, incredibly light. This has an essence of almost a point-and-click adventure game. And what I mean by that is you will have your character, you will choose to move to locations and interact with either points of interest or non-playable characters that are on the map or on the locations. So for example, you may have, let me make myself bigger. You may have a location like this. And on Congo Square, there may be some characters there. So for example, we may have a strange man NPC like this. Oh, that's never going to focus on that, is it? Go on. No, it's just, there we go. You may have a strange man there, and all you'll do is you'll choose your character, you'll move it to Congo Square, you'll choose what point of interest or NPC you want to interact with, and then you'll be presented with options in the app. Now, usually that involves them introducing themselves in some way. Sometimes it's not as nice as that, of course. And then you have the opportunity to open up questioning with them. Potentially, you have the opportunity to coax information out of them or intimidate information out of them, depending on how you want to go about it. You may have the opportunity to scan items. So, for example, you may want to use some money to bribe someone, which you can scan into the app. And every card has a QR code to be scanned, or it has an in-game ability. Like in this case, you can discard the money to receive 2 experience during the upgrade phase to better increase your character skills and get new abilities. So another example would be a shriveled vampire hand can be scanned, or you can discard it to add a success in a combat test. So essentially, you're picking your character, you're going to locations, you're gathering information, and then you're engaging in questioning and interactions, evolving the story and making decisions that impact it. Mechanically, it's incredibly simple. There is a little bit more depth to how you might choose to do things and how you react and what the world does. And there will be threads of clues and cases that start to pop up that you need to keep track of, that you need to choose which threads to follow. And there will be certain pressure if you don't do that well, but it's not at all a challenging game to get around. So very good for someone who likes books, who likes a bit of supernatural, a bit of horror, and definitely good for people that aren't experienced gamers. But keep in mind that mature content. I'm going to keep, there's quite a lot of questions coming through. So Juan says, maybe we can have those updates in file language sent out to our personal email addresses. I'd love to do an R-rated version of all of our updates. Oh man, that sounds super fun. I want to hear Jeffrey Holder's laugh from Live and Let Die's Baron Sandy. Oh, I mean, if we could get the license right, if we could get the deal. Steve Meehan says, there's no reason you can't end each update with a message from the Baron. Oh, I kind of want to. I really, let's just say he doesn't think much of the Beaumont Agency, and he wishes that they would go away somewhere else. So if we put all of the backers in the shoes of the Beaumont agents, those little messages could get rough. Really looking forward to writing one. Oh, Casey, that would be incredible. Honestly, the community content's a big part of something we're doing at Lucky Duck. We've done it a bit in the past with our Chronicles of Crime community editor, but we've just started the release of the Destinies community editor, and we'll have the Dark Quarter community editor, and we've actually got the new Carly Reinhardt. If you haven't seen, Carly joined us and she did a stream with Bree just last week, I think it was. If you see on YouTube or on Facebook, you'll find it, and they talk about all the plans we have to do more with the community and let them create content for our games. It's a big thing of things we're starting to do. Goodness me. Oh, so many questions. Hold on a minute. There's so many questions. Okay, let me keep going. Jeff says, Destiny's is ace. So super stoked for this. For fumble-fingered folk like me, is there any hope of double-layered stat boards to save us from table nudge errors? Okay. Let me So everyone's been so good in this because we have the player boards, which are double-sided. You've got John Robichaux's here with his store in the back. And then on the other side, you have an area for his dice. You have his 4 skill tracks, and then you have cubes that represent each of the skills. That are going to be, oh goodness, intuition, perception. Oh, hold on. Let me scroll quickly. I'm going to get this wrong, and Rafal is going to shout at me. It's talent, combat, arcane, and charisma. And the idea being that you'll move your cubes along these skills to determine how skillful you are in those different areas. Now, in the prototype copy, we didn't have dual aid boards. I'm just going to say right now, we did have them in Destinies, and we are keenly aware of how amazing and useful they are. We very much want to have them in the game. I think you're probably going to see them pop up during the campaign. It's all I'll say. I don't want to give away the fun. It's all I'll say. We see the value, and we've heard the feedback as well. I love Chronicles of Crime. How different is the Dark Quarter in terms of darkness? It's darker. It's darker. There are some Chronicles of Crime cases that you could play with your family and even play with younger audiences, because although it's about crime and sometimes murder and sometimes kind of bad things happening, it's a bit more mainstream. The Dark Quarter is certainly more on the adult side. So yes, prepare for darkness. Battlecry, lovely to see you. It's been too long. Hello. Andrew says, is the game winnable, or are there multiple endings with various shades of grey? Hopefully not 50. Now, basically, it depends on you and your decisions. There may come a point where a scenario is going to end no matter what you do. It's just depending how it will end. It could be victory. It could not be victory. It could be something in between. So don't expect to finish this now and go, ba-bam, you won. Expect to finish and you just be told the outcome of everything that you did or did not do. And then when you start the next scenario, you'll have a little kind of previously on the Dark Quarter intro, which will kind of sum up the key elements of when you played before, in case there's obviously a gap between the last time you played the game. But no, don't expect a clear you've won. It is a cooperative game, but some characters may have better times than others, depending on what they do and depending if they do actually go and own up to their personal misgivings. Because I'll give you an example. Very minor spoiler. Tiny spoiler. As soon as you start the first scenario, you'll see it. Each of the characters has their own kind of trauma to deal with, their own kind of personal issues. Right. When you start the first scenario, if you play as Winter, one of the initial decisions that you'll have to make is whether to go and investigate the scene of where you think you might have done something really bad while intoxicated. Now, I'll not say any details about what it is or how it impacts it, but it's simple to say that you'll have a decision about whether to choose to ignore this thing that you might have done really wrong, or to go and potentially deal with it and investigate into it and find out if you can retrace your steps and work out what happened. And if you want to see that all the way through to its conclusion, or if you decide once you've got a bit of information about it, whether you want to leave it alone. So that involves Winter, and that's kind of Winter's decision. That doesn't necessarily involve the greater scheme of the case that's going on, and indeed the other players and characters. So Winter may end up having a better or worse outcome, or a better impact to his character than the other players, if that makes sense. The way I put it on the campaign, which I think is probably the best way it could be, is to say that the choices you make can result in their triumphs, their deaths, or something even worse. So victory, not necessarily a thing you're going to have. Toby says, can the app be set to bleep out the swearing? I'm all for swearing, but it'll not alienate people who would shy away from the expletives. That is an amazing suggestion, Toby. I do not believe that we have spoken about that being an option. I'm going to make a note of it. This instant, profanity filter. What about a stretch goal for profanity filter? Will we be the first campaign ever to have a stretch goal to add a profanity filter to a game? Oh, man. Okay. Speaking as I did earlier, if you weren't here, about the intricacies of how the app works and all the different interactions and things that happen, it might be a bit more complicated than I think, but I'm going to take that one back to the team because I think that's a really interesting idea. And I also really want to see a humorous version of it that replaces all of the swear words with funny duck words or funny Van Ryder related words. But to answer your question, at the moment, no, the game is full mature, no holes barred, no option to turn that off. But I'm going to chase that up. That's a great idea. Casey says, will I be able to instead scan the shriveled vampire hand that I already have in my freezer? I mean, how smart is this app anyway? We're not using image recognition technology. We are using QR codes. So if your shriveled vampire hand in your freezer has a QR code, then yes, by all means, scan away. Can you voice one of the actors in the game with the Irish New Orleans accent? Gary, I mean, I would love to. I genuinely would love to. I feel like I would have to voice someone who is a giggler though, because my lack of ability to giggle is poor. Such a fun stream, Bree said she did with Carly. Yes, check it out. If you want to find more about our community editors, check out YouTube or Facebook for details on that. Tomer says, what was the inspiration to set it in that period of time and location? Well, no spoilers. I'm not going to answer this actually, because Evan, Derek, who's the lead designer of the game and the main writer of the game as well, Evan, who has really come up with this whole world, it's his vision that the Dark Quarter is. He's actually prepared a little answer to a few interview questions that I'm going to share in the next day or two. And also Omari Akil, who is our cultural consultant, has also contributed to that and talked a bit about the world and the game and how we built that out. So actually, I'm not going to claim glory for that, but I'll let Evan's words speak for itself. And I think during the campaign, it's highly likely that we'll have Evan either on our own stream or featured on another stream as well, where we can answer those kind of questions. So don't worry, Tomer, we'll cover that. And yes, just hello to you as well. Blake says, are you fully redesigning it yourselves and Van Ryder is just helping to produce and publish, or are they taking on an active role in scenarios development? This is a really interesting question, actually, and I don't mind sharing this. So the original game design came from Evan. And the wish to work with Lucky Duck on our app kind of came from Van Ryder. And then we got talking with them and got really excited about this idea. And then we had the Destiny system, and the Destiny's kind of both the background system and then also the front end kind of skill system that you now see in the game. And they kind of merged together really very well. It was really a culmination of two amazing ideas. Now, how is that working in the long run? Well, there's writing being done on all sides. So you'll see that we have Evan from Van Ryder. We also have Rafal from Lucky Duck Games, who wrote a lot of the scenarios in Destiny Sea of Sands, doing writing too. And Omari Akil, who's also coming on board, who's not with either of the publishers. In fact, let me share. It's probably better that I share this so you can actually see this for yourselves. And I can show you the lovely faces of these people. So we have Evan from Van Ryder, who, if you haven't played Detective City of Angels, by the way, or Final Girl, you're missing out on some of Evan's best work there. Rafal, who's a game director and designer with ourselves and author, and did, as I said, did Destiny Sea of Sands, will be writing some. And then Omari as well, who's our cultural consultant and writer with the game, has been involved in many, many different games. Rap Gods is the one where I really became aware of Omari and just done incredible work in the industry. So there's a shared workload of the writing. The design of the game is mainly done. Like the core rules are there. And in fact, touch on that point. In the next couple of days, I will definitely have a rulebook to share with you all as well. At least a rulebook to give you a real good level of detail about what the core experience of the game. It will be just a prototype one, but I think I'll really give you a good summary. So keep an eye out for a backer update on that. So the game itself is really, the nuances of the game are really kind of there, and there's just a bit of finer detail to be done. But the gut of the work that has to be done is the writing. We are talking about, I don't want to give kind of too much away about the final numbers, but we're talking over 200,000 words easy to be done. And that's to be translated, of course, and it's to be implemented into the app and all the different strands and threads that you can go. So that's where the bulk of the work does. Lucky Duck have really provided the app and the system there. We have that already made and good to go. So that gets written and then it gets implemented into the app. The artwork and the kind of vision for the graphics of the world really came from ourselves, Lucky Duck, and the artists and sculptors that we work with. But that all originally came from the vision and the world building of Evan, and what you did with Omari as well. So there's been a bit of both. And then it's really a shared experience. And then the Lost to the Night expansion has 4 unique characters, completely different from the 4 base game characters. And that was Rafal's vision. Rafal's actually going to be leading the writing on that expansion. So it's very much a collaboration. It's very much a sharing on all sides. And it's a combination of amazing writers that we both companies tend to come from that background. But it's really the Van Ryder experience with their horror girl, with their detective experience, these really more gritty, more mature subject matters than we would have done in the past that kind of brought the whole vision of the world together. Hopefully that answers it. And it will be ourselves who are kind of handling some of the logistics and manufacturing. Obviously, we're doing the crowdfunding campaign, so we can help do that. Lucky Duck are helping to run that side of things. So it's really a shared workload. Andrew says, might be too early to ask this, but how many campaigns will the app allow you to run in parallel, and how much info will it save? I.e., will it also save item, character, stat stuff? I can tell you for the first part, I'm going to say infinite. Not quite true, right? But you can make as many profiles as you like, essentially. So I can start a campaign, I can get 1 or 2 scenarios in, and I can go, do you know what? I want to try a different character, or I want to play with different people. I don't want to continue this campaign right now. I just, in the app, go, boom, make a new profile. I've now got a separate profile that's blank and ready to go and start a new campaign again. And you can do that multiple times, just like in Destiny's, but in this, it's more important because you have those character evolutions. It will save all of that information in terms of your current stats and what items and stuff you have. So I don't know the exact specifics of which part is necessary, but it will save all of that. Gary said, can we scan cards from Destiny's mid-game? Some awesome responses could be placed in the game. Where the heck did you get a camel in New Orleans? I mean, let's not lie, right? Point and click adventure games and adventure games in general, no matter what form you play them in, have some of the best Easter eggs ever. The idea of like scanning like a scimitar or a camel or something from the Destiny's game and it having some kind of fun reference in the Dark Quarter, I legitimately adore this idea. Gary, you're going straight into my notepad. Scannable cards from other games. That's getting put into my notepad right now, sir. Toby says, stretch goal for more swearing. Tober says, yeah. Replace F-bombs with D-bombs. Duck you, duck everybody, duck everything. Okay, so I mean, please, no, beep. Oh, you're all making me laugh. This is amazing. All I'm going to say, I've been with Lucky Duck Games for 2 years, loving my time here. But if you look at your keyboard, if you use a QWERTY keyboard, the letter to the left of D and the letter to the right of D means if you do mistype Lucky Duck, you do really need to be careful that you don't. Let's just put it that way. I'll mark your words, says Tomer, expecting that interview. Promise, Tomer, it's coming. It's coming. Just backed, Battlecry. Thank you so much for your support. I'm so happy. Heart with fingers. Heart with fingers for you. Oh my goodness, so many questions. This is great. Twan says, I hear that there should be an option to play certain scenarios with a tablet or a phone with the app. Is that true? It will be awesome to play the game on the go. Yes, but it's worth noting you really do always need to have the physical components. The main game board is represented, so the city of New Orleans is represented in the app, and when you go into locations, you'll also have a digital representation as well, but you'll not have your items and your consumables and your story cards. You also won't have your player boards and all of your stats there as well. So we do not intend for this game to be fully playable on the app. If you try and do it, I'm sure some very innovative people out there will find some way to do it, but that is not the intention. The intention is definitely round the table with the physical components because they are needed for the gameplay. But to be clear, it will be available on tablets and mobiles, so on iOS and also on Android, so Apple and Google. And we also plan it for PC and laptop as well. Windows for definite, and Mac and Linux we also plan to, but usually it comes a little bit after. It's a bit more work required for that. My partner is deaf, says Phil. Will everything in the app be subtitled, captioned? Phil, everything in the app will be written. So there'll be nothing really to miss there. There won't be anything, I believe, that would need to have any kind of closed captions or subtitles to explain. Everything will be written. Okay, we've got some. Oh my goodness, so excited. Susie, thank you so much. Heart with fingers for your support. Gary says the Destiny system should be done for every universe. We need a Marvel Destinies, Gloomhaven Destinies, Arthurian Legend Destinies. The games will sell themselves. Hey, not saying no, not saying no. If you actually did back Destinies, you might have seen, I believe it was 2 months ago, we sent out a survey to all of our Destinies backers to ask them a lot of questions. And one of those questions was, what type of new settings would you like to see for Destinies? And we had a lot of suggestions. And I could hint a little bit that there were some recurring suggestions, actually. I don't want to give anything away, but let's just say, for the first time publicly, you definitely haven't heard the end of Destinies. Let's just say that. Let's just say that's. I'm going to get a slap on the wrist. I really hope that Vince and Brie are not here. Thomas says, opening the app for fan-made content is such a great decision. Did you share already a tease of the format or platform of how that will work? So, Tomer, not for the Dark Quarter. We haven't shared that just yet. In fact, the only thing you can see, if I bring it up on the campaign, is a very simple little screenshot of the editor. Now, the editor already exists because actually the first scenario was built in the editor for reviewers and content creators to play the prototype copies that we had made. So the editor already exists. It's just not really made very pretty for anyone to use. It's more of a back-end developer kind of version, so it's not been polished yet to be a bit nicer for use. If you try the Destiny's community editor, which you will find on Steam, if you download Destiny's on Steam, and then you also find under Tools, under Tools in your library, once you have Destiny's installed, you'll find the Destiny's community editor, and that'll give you a very kind of rough feeling about how it's going to work, because there's similarities to the core mechanisms of the game. Although there's quite a few rules changes, there's similarities to the editor behind the scenes. But expect over the next 12 months to more, to be released on this, especially as we're nearing the point of delivering, to backers. That's really when we'll be focusing on then releasing the software. But we do not intend to release it until people have had a chance to play the game. Trying to make a scenario for any of our games without having played through a lot of them would be incredibly challenging. So it's really important that you play through all of your copy of the Dark Quarter before you give it a go and make your own. Highly recommended. Keith says, so the app is friendly to those with multiple personalities. That's good to know. Very progressive on your part. I adore it. Because I've ended playtesting Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising, and it was amazing. Can't wait to see you playing it live. Oh, so Camille Ox is talking about Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising, which is another campaign that we have that is in its pledge manager at the moment over on GameFound. And yeah, I cannot wait for people to get their hands on that and play it. It's going to be a really fun evolution of the Kingdom Rush system. Jeremy says, I'm not. I'm looking at what Dover wrote. Lucky, yeah. Welcome to my world. Don't rush typing Lucky Duck games. That can go wrong. I'm in love with the theme, says Jeremy. As a resident of Louisiana, I'm very excited to see all of the little/big hints of the history and alt history of New Orleans. Give me all the werewolves and vampires. Yes, amazing. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for sharing your passion. Hello, Chris. Hello, you Hamson Devil. Hope you have an amazing and highly successful funding. Thank you very much, Chris, at the Charity Board Gamer, for your awesome positivity. Battlecry says, flip open phone case that doubles as game board and player flip board. So this is talking about, could you play it on the move? Hey, anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. I'm really sad that we've just passed April Fool's Day, because I really could have done with some of these amazing ideas, folks. Gary said, oh, I loved in Chronicles of Crime, multiple devices could be used. We could run a tablet, and when we're investigating a scene, everyone could run that on their phone at the same time. You should implement this kind of idea here. It would be nice if each person could use their phone as a controller, so as not needing to pass around the tablet. Yeah, it's very much something, we consider this whenever you're thinking about any digital hybrid game. You have to think about the use of the app and the devices, okay? Because it's an important element. Now, this is an adventure game, and it's narratively driven. We really wanted that element of, it's your turn, hand you the world, you now get involved, and you speak out loud and say what's happening. You can do the voices of the characters, you can do your own, and get involved that way. And that's really how we wanted to focus it. In essence, at its very core, you might think you can replace the app with a book. If you had a massive book of like 30,000 words per scenario, so let's say base game had 100,000 words in a book, you could replace it. And each time something happened, you'd have to go to section 11A and then 34B and then D, whatever. You'd have to go to all these different sections. But the reason we can never do that, not only because of the ecological reasons, but the fact is you can go anywhere at any time. And there are a lot of contextual things that happen depending on your decisions. And that's the kind of thing that just is not very easy to build in just to a hard copy paper version. The app gives us a lot of flexibility for you deciding, hey, actually, this door I've just come across, I'm going to scan my crowbar and I'm just going to break it down. Or, hey, this person's being really difficult and I can't deal with them. I've tried to use a charisma check to see if I can win them over and it hasn't gone well. I'm just going to scan a love potion and see how that goes down. Oh, they saw me going to do it and they slapped it out of my hand and it smashed and it's been discarded and I've lost it now, and now they won't talk to me at all. These are the kind of interactions that the app really gives us and digital hybrid games allow us to do. And that's why there's so much value. And having that all happen on one device gives the player whose turn it is all that kind of focus. It allows them to be in the spotlight for that moment. And that's a big thing for getting around the table and doing. That being said, again, a little secret. It's not that much of a secret. I've said it before. My favorite way to play Chronicles of Crime and Destinies, and I think the Dark Quarter is going to fall into that as well, is to sit side by side with one other player. I like 2 players, a really nice player count for me. Side by side, stream it from my phone to a TV, cast it. like Chromecast it, for example, is what I normally use, and put it on the TV so that we both do our own thing when we're doing it and working together, or if we're competing in Destinies, but we can see everything happening on the full screen as well. So we're constantly immersed, and we can also do the audio cast that way as well. And I love that experience. But hey, each to their own. But we do, yeah, we're mindful when we choose between single device or multiple device, and we tend to avoid any kind of dependency on Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or online connectivity. We want you to be able to get the app, download the scenario, and play anywhere. We don't want it to be like, oh, multiple phones have to connect to each other, and that could have connectivity issues and get in the way of the gameplay. The app should be there to do things that no normal physical component can, and it shouldn't add any extra barriers to it. Pirate Destinies, Space Destinies. Keith says, I didn't get Destinies. Will you send me a copy of If I Mow Your Lawn? What if I wash your car? You lost me in the mow your lawn because I don't have a lawn. Wash your car, though, inside and out, Casey. Let's talk. Let's talk Lucky Duck Bills. You missed out. It's very nice. Thank you, Gary. I'm glad you enjoyed Destinies. I'm a back-end developer. Let me write already Dark Noir Pokemon scenarios or some other bizarre theme. Wow, like I mean, that's appealing to me on a whole nostalgic level. As someone just a couple of days away from turning 35, like the Pokemon Red and Blue and even Yellow and Green era, that's me, man, and you're appealing to my sensibilities really well. Gary says, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think I'm going to miss the 15mm scale. Those miniatures were so quick to paint. 32 is pretty industry standard now, though. Yeah, so this honestly came from feedback. And in fact, let's have a quick kind of conversation about this, because this is something that really came about from what our backers were saying. So we've got the option with the core box. When you look at the base game of the Dark Quarter, even I'm getting them confused now, you have your 4-player characters, and each one will be represented by a 32mm mini. So you'll have, oh, that's not going to work very well because I'm small. And then also we've got to see if we can get it to focus. So here's Roboshow. Oh, he's not going to want to. I haven't got, Gary, I haven't got him painted, man. I'm so sorry. Oh, he does not want to go. There he is. But so you'll have a 32mm mini representing each of your 4 characters. So there's John. Then there's Julia Paris, who is a casket girl or ex-casket girl, depending on how you want to go into it. Constance Moreau. And then Winter Mullins. Whoops. There we go. Now, if I scroll on down past the rest of the content, you'll notice that we've got 41 NPC markers. So we've decided to go for punchboard tokens for all of the different kind of NPCs you're going to come across, because there are a lot in the game. But then we've also got a few key characters, key villains, we just call them miniatures because I don't want to give anything away about the actual plot points of these characters. But we've got the Cursed Werewolf, Baron Samedi, Dark Priestess, and the Executioner. So there's these miniatures in the game, and we have gone with the larger scale because these are feature important, impactful miniatures. Now, if you don't want to use NPC punchboard tokens, which we totally get, like we understand that like some people prefer to have miniatures, some people want to have them. We made this optional deluxe miniatures upgrade set. So if you want them, you can get 20 miniatures of the most kind of impactful and important and really the most prominent figures in Dark Orleans. So we have a Cursed Dead Saturday and the Rougarou. We have Ms. Babette, Rex, Dead Saturday, Mama Belle, Casket Girl, Esme, Strange Man, don't give too much away there, De La Cruz, Sophie Romero, Louis LeBlanc, Charlotte Batten, and a Dead Saturday's ringleader. Now, there's actually 6 more still to come. There's going to be 20 minis in this box when it's complete. There's still some that we are currently working on at the moment. But it's worth saying that we've made that as an optional thing because we felt with Destiny, some people were saying, yeah, we really love the minis. Like, we like the scale. We love the big Abaddon mini. But really, sometimes we have trouble playing with it. When we've got a big map with lots of minis, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. So we decided, hey, we're going to make it really simple and go with the artwork of the characters represented in the app and the same artwork represented by a token as well. But if you want to deluxify a little bit, you can get the deluxe minis upgrade and have those really critical and kind of ones that appear quite often, those key NPCs. So yeah, we hear you. And that was honest to goodness part of the feedback that we had. Like that was really came from the mass of Destiny's fans who were saying we really liked them, but maybe something else might have been another alternative. So that's what we've done. Sue says Team Az and Braz for Kingdom Rush. Yeah, Bree and I had an amazingly good time completing the scenario campaign for Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. That playlist is over on YouTube, and I don't know, maybe we'll get together to play Element Uprising. I'd love to make time for that. But Bree now has Carly in her time zone, so maybe I'm going to get busted out for Carly. We'll see what happens. Jurgen says, just back the game. Will you be doing demos at Spiel this year? Dibs on the first demo. Oh, my heart goes out to you. I mean, I can't say for sure because October is quite a far way away. We will be at UK Games Expo. We will be at Origins and Gen Con. And if you're in France, we will be at Paris et Ludique, where we may well have the game. Will we still be demoing it in October? Possibly. I can't say for sure because we may have more exciting things between now and then. I don't know. So, by the way, is this coming to Netflix as well? Oh, that's the dream, right? That's the dream. That would be amazing. Yeah, Tomer's actually making different devices sync. You're talking about what I was mentioning earlier about different devices. Yeah, you're with me, and I appreciate the little bit of shared insight there. Netflix, a good one, right back to April 1st. Yeah, if anyone missed our amazing reveal on April 1st, Chronicles of Crime, Netflix show, baby. What is the future for Chronicles of Crime, by the way, Jean Paul? That's a great question. I'm not going into a huge amount of detail, but we might be working on some extra little bit of content for Chronicles of Crime, but no big major new releases are coming. However, the fourth scenario for the Chronicles of Time expansion, which is actually just here, will be releasing this month, all being well. And then that will be available on our website. This was the exclusive expansion from that Millennium Series campaign. So if you haven't played the Chronicles of Time expansion, which will feature a scenario that goes through all three of the Millennium Series Chronicles of Crime games, that should be on our website in a few weeks. Jeremy says, I very specifically installed a TV mounted on the wall in my game room so I can cast the game to the TV during our app-driven narrative games like Imperial Assault, Gloomhaven, and soon My Father's Work. Oh, Jeremy, yes. What an amazing set of games as well. I've never played Imperial Assault with the app, and I played it before the app came out, and man, I need to do that. I need to break open my copy and do that. Gary says, where can I pledge for Dark Noir Pokemon scenarios? I'm kind of going to write it down. Dark, we're calling them Dark Noir Pokemon. Now, this was obviously Tomer's idea, but maybe we need to talk to some licensing friends. Like, I don't know. Sounds pretty good. Valerio says, how long is each game? Sorry if the question's already asked. How many scenarios? You're absolutely fine. You're welcome to ask any questions at all that you like. How long is the game? Every time you play, you can expect a scenario to last between 2 to 3 hours. There are 4 scenarios in the base box, and there are 3 scenarios in the Lost to the Night expansion. Plus, we're going to have daily unlocks throughout the campaign, which is going to be unlocking new content for a free expansion that all backers get called the Yesterday Demon and Other Stories. So keep an eye on that. So at the minute, there's 4 in the base game and 3 in the Lost to the Night expansion, but more being unlocked and added as daily unlocks for backers. Tomer says, you have a lovely hand. I'm not sure if we're talking about me. My hand? I don't know. That might be one might be one of the strangest comments. I'm gonna move along. I'm gonna pretend I don't know. We're talking about washing my car for a copy of Destinies, was it? Man, I'll wash the outside, but the inside you ask too much. I'll leave some snacks in your glove box, though. Our jockey box has weirdos across the pond say. Oh man, what is a jockey box? I've never heard that term before. Amazing. Everyone is answering the question for me much quicker than I did. Thank you so much. Good question. Speaking of the miniature, why square base for characters? Now, great question. So, I've got an example here. Our characters are on traditional. Actually, hold on. Let me get Winter. Let me get Constance. Our characters are on traditional square bases, 32mm, nothing unusual, standard. But the villains and the characters in the NPC, the deluxe miniature kit, and in the base game, you have the likes of the Baron Samedi, which I adore, by the way, are on hexagonal bases. Wait, hold on a minute. Hexagonal? Yes, I know you said octagonal, but no, hexagonal bases. Now, why? Why are these on different bases to the square of the base character? The reason is actually quite simple, but quite important. at many different points when you're playing through the game. As I mentioned, you're going to have individual character stories, individual opportunities and points of interest and people to interact with that are specifically related to each of the player characters. So each player character has these character markers. So in this case, I've got, oh, focus, stop looking at my eyes. Come on, there we go. So this is John Robichaux's, and this is Winter Mullins, for example. And these little chevrons, I like calling them chevrons, but they're character markers, are designed to be placed around the edges of miniatures and around the edges of your characters and things like your point of interest, which you also have here. Now, this is quite important because a location, point of interest, or NPC, they could gain or lose these chevrons because, as I mentioned, there will be points where certain areas are only open or only available for certain characters to go and explore into, giving them their unique little tangents to go on. And that's why we made it that way, because if you, for example, take, let me see. I'm trying to see if I can get, yeah, here we go. Here's a great example. Actually, let me show you right now. Let me scroll down here for a second. I'm trying to get your real world example so you see exactly what I mean. So if I get this right, hopefully I don't mess this up. I might be about to get shot by my team. If you look at Mama Bell on the left with the hexagonal base, Mama Bell, if you have just the base game without the miniatures, will just be represented by a hexagonal token. But to keep that level of consistency and that nice component quality consistent throughout the base game, or if you get the miniatures, we've gone hexagonal tokens, hexagonal miniature bases, both to fit the chevrons. That is why. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, that's why. I pledged for the whole damn agency. It was a must. Thank you, Susie. Thank you. I hope it is a must that you enjoy. Thomas says, how frequent were those NPCs miniatures actually being used? Asking because other games with NPC minis are rarely used. Yes, they look nice, but not really a justified addition. So, Tomer, this is, I mean, obviously it's a deluxification. You know, it's upgrading your punch board into miniatures. So that's the first thing. They're definitely not needed in any way, shape, or form. There is no gameplay impact to having the miniatures. All right, just to be really clear about that. But the second thing is your map and all the locations you go to will be populated very often with, I mean, goodness, anywhere between like 10 and like 20 different places to go and visit and things to go and do, people to interact with. You can expect to have quite a lot of interaction with these miniatures throughout the game. Some may appear in some scenarios more often than not, but we have specifically tried to choose some of the most commonly seen NPCs. You'll notice that we didn't do a miniatures upgrade pack for 41 NPCs, of which there are 41 NPC tokens. The reason for this is some NPCs do only appear in one particular scene or one particular story in certain ways, right? These are real characters with real depth. These aren't like kind of throwaway generic person. It's like, no, there's impact happening there. So yes, you can expect the miniatures to appear pretty regularly. We purposefully didn't do 41 minis for the exact reason that you called out. Some people may see that as a negative, but actually, I think your question shows that actually some people think this way, and it's actually a positive. Gary says, I do concede in Destinies, you have to paint your minis. I think unpainted, it's going to be really hard to tell anything about. Yeah, the 15mm, despite being wonderfully detailed as the standard grey plastic, can be difficult, especially if you're sitting back from your table. With a wash or a bit of a paint job in any way, shape, or form, they come up really well. But yeah, the slightly bigger miniatures we think is going to add to the feel of the Dark Quarter. Because of the 4 skill lines represented by the 4 points of a square, I made that up, but sounded good, didn't it? That was an answer to the Y square basis, Casey. What a great answer. I think your answer was better. Ignore everything I said earlier. That's the right answer. Jim said, couldn't you list the mini number in the app for Destinies to make them easier to find the best? We hear you. We hear you on this. Yes, believe me, we really have acknowledged the fact that we needed to do a better job of storing the minis in the game box and making it much easier for you to find them. We have the 3D mini renders there, but when you're looking at the app and you've got the 3D mini rendered and you look in the box, it's not easy to see. You'll clearly see that we are learning from our mistakes. We've gone with the punch board with actual NPC numbers in the Dark Quarter, and you will have that really clear numbering happening with the miniatures as well. Yeah, sorry, Jim. It's something that we need to try and go back and tweak, and apologies for the difficulty if you've had it there. There's some... Oh, man. Camille answering the question, what is happening with the Chronicles of Crime series? 2900, 3400, 3900. We're just going on a cyberpunk warfare. I love it. We had said, how is the replayability? Are possible scenario endings different enough to want to play through again, even with the same character? So I'm going to be this person. I'm going to channel James Hudson, who I love to the moon and back. He's very brutally honest at times. I'm going to be brutally honest. The word replayability is a bit nonsensical to me because it can mean so many different things to different people. So here's what I will say to keep it as simple as I can. The main story plot of the Dark Quarter is going to be like a book or a movie. It can flow in different ways, but it's going to kind of carry along and you're kind of going with it and impacting a little. But overall, the story arc across the base game is relatively consistent and unchanging. But the outcomes will certainly vary, for sure. But the overall story arc is going to be the same thing again. Where the change really happens is in your individual player characters. So each character has their own unique storylines and pasts and histories to deal with. So if you play with the same character and do the same character again in the same scenario, you're probably going to have a relatively similar experience to what you had the first time around. If you play a different character, you will have significantly a different experience. It's worth being said the world will always react to your decisions, the results of your roles, how you use items and such. But overall, you're in there for the story and the cinematography experience, that kind of really engaging story and narrative. The goal is not to make a game that you're going to play like 50 times. That's really not what we're trying to do with the Dark Quarter. We're trying to give you something super engaging. And Evan's writing, especially in this first scenario, really shows that off. So hopefully that answers your question. And I would look at it as the same as a choose your own adventure book, the same as a movie, the same as something you enjoy, but with that added variability of each character being playable in a completely different way. So yeah, hopefully that answers it. But it said replayability is such an interesting term in our industry that I'm always cautious about how to describe it. Stephanie says, in Destinies, hello, Stephanie, I noticed a lot of scenarios were similar in what you needed to do to complete a task. Is this going to be similar? No. Oh, goodness. How can I just... No. Oh, I don't want to give anything away. Because this is cooperative, first of all, you're all going to be working together, right? So there's no kind of, I need to get 3 silver weapons and you need to get 3 silver weapons, or I need to gather herbs, you need to gather herbs. This is really, we're all working through the story together, but you're really doing very unique and different things each time. And each location, each character you interact with is going to offer you very different opportunities in how you progress and get information with them. It's very much an open sandbox world again, so you can choose where to go, what to prioritize, what to ignore. But it's less focused on what Destiny's had, which was collect X thing to begin the finale. And it's more work your way through what is happening, solve and find the right people. Don't waste your time with the distractions and actually get to the crux of the story. That's the imperative, and it's everyone doing it together. But you can expect very changeable things happening throughout the different stories. The main story arc, especially in the core box, is very different. And the expansion Lost to the Night is something that is just like completely out there. I'll talk about it in a little minute, actually, in more detail. But the Lost to the Night expansion is completely different in terms of feeling to the core box. So yeah, it's a hard one for me to answer because they are really quite different. You don't have these destinies or paths. You actually just have an overarching case and scenario to deal with. Hopefully that answers it, Stephanie. I don't feel like I did a very good job of that one. It was a good question. Today says, except if it's in a future unlock about which you can't talk about, will the expansion/miniatures be put in a core box, or will there be a big box like Chronicles of Crime? Actually, I can relatively surely say we're not planning a big box storage solution for the Dark Quarter. Now, long story short, the reason for this is the trouble that we're having with shipping, how we're handling manufacturing, and how the transportation is going on. And we talked about it quite a bit to see if this was going to be something that was possible. It's looking very unlikely to be a thing. Separately kind of manufactured individual storage solutions are just becoming very difficult to justify unless you really have a very, very, very clear kind of purpose and production kind of model for it. So I'm saying that with nearly complete certainty, we do not plan on doing that. It would be the base game box, the 2 expansions, the free one, the Yesterday Demon and Other Stories, and then the expansion for the Lost to the Night, and then the deluxe miniatures in the smaller box would be separate as well. So yeah, no plan for it right now. Did I hear you right? Did you just say there will be a daily reveal tomorrow of a ghost hunting scenario? Phasmophobia style? Where are you? Reveal yourself. If you keep track of the day unlocks, you're definitely going to get a ghostly surprise in the next coming couple of days. Richard says, in my opinion, the Dark Order seems to have some heavy influence from World of Darkness and Anne Rice novels. I think you're really in the right area, Richard, 100%. I think Gabriel Knight is one we're hearing talked about a lot. We've had Supernatural, we've had True Blood, Werewolf, The Masquerade. I think there's a lot of kind of similarities there, but we're really tapping into a slightly unique kind of fictional world. And it's definitely Evan's vision for this Dark Orleans that he's making. It's using the culture and the history there, but it's really expanding it to be something quite fantastical. And so, yeah, I think you're on it. Tomer says, thanks for the asters. The lovely hat was a joke for you, showcasing, waiting for the other. Oh, thanks, Tomer. I'm too slow. I'm not going through the comments fast enough to keep up with the wit. Jeremy says, those player boards are begging for double thickness with cutouts for the skill cubes. He is hoping it's going to be a stretch goal for the Kickstarter. I know what you mean. Gillox wants to go back in time for more Chronicles of Crime. Keith says, I spend more time painting minis than playing games. The minis are my friends. Oh, I love minis. Jim says, I'm sure James Hunter would heart you channeling him as. Yeah, I do love James's videos, especially when he does the live streams during the campaign. The campaign for Tidal Blaze 2 was just incredible. What a great campaign that was. So yeah, big fan of James. Alexander says, will there be voice acting? No. Actually, this is a really interesting topic. I'll say very quickly, because I realize I've been going on for over an hour now, but not only are there a lot of words in the game, which is a hurdle, but it's one that you can overcome. But the thing that makes the app integration a critical part of the gameplay, like why it makes the app critical, is that the world's remembering what you're doing. It remembers who you befriended, who you annoyed, who you killed, who you saved. It also lets you scan items and interact with it in your own way, which is very different from a typical kind of narration app where you're kind of getting blocks of text that are relatively unchanging. Having voice narration for sentences that are composed of multiple different variables and contextual interactions makes having voice acting for anything more than potentially the introduction to each scenario very challenging, unfortunately. So right now, there is no specific plan to have voice acting to cover the whole scenarios. It's a really tricky one because by Jove, do we love the idea. And hopefully, as you heard from the trailer, we really want to gravitate to the world and embrace the music and the soundtrack we have in it and really ingratiate all the players into Dark Orleans in this setting. But it's very much not a thing that is easy to accomplish. I'm not going to say it's not off the table because we are very much open to this and we are doing little bits of research in the background on who we could potentially work with, but it's very, very unlikely. Thomas says, if you want real replayability, buy the Men in Black flashing bright light device add-on to completely forget the story. Oh, man. Let's go into the notes. Profanity filter, scannable cards from other games, Dark Noir Pokemon, that's my 3 bullet, and now Men in Black flashy memory wipe device for real replayability. Oh, man, I love it. Give this person a medal. Best idea ever. I agree. This is too good. Just to make a comparison, is the theme more like fantasy of Harry Potter or more like a horror movie? Definitely closer to a horror movie. Okay, hold on. Okay, if you don't like something a little bit on the more mature side, I'm going to show you some artwork now. I'm going to show you a crime scene. I'm going to show you a little bit of a crime scene from the first scenario. Okay, here it comes. My light is causing it to reflect quite badly. And that's all I'll show. Get that away. The text that describes that scene, depending on how you come about it and who with, but the text that describes it goes into quite a bit more detail than even you see on the graphics, on the card itself. In fact, there are several points of particular interest that go into quite a lot of detail about what's going on there. Not Harry Potter, more horror. Not scary horror, but dark horror. I've offered to do all the voices for very cheap, but I still haven't gotten that phone call. I don't use phones these days. I use only bat signals. Blake says, is there a recommendation to play the prequel expansion first to set up the main game or just a fun thing to do afterwards? Actually, Blake, either is definitely possible. So the prequel expansion, which we're going to be unlocking during the campaign, with all of our daily unlocks, is going to add 4 standalone characters. 4 standalone scenarios. What we'll be doing is focusing each one on a different character, and going a bit into their history and what brought them to the Beaumont Agency, and giving you more insight to who they are and where they came from. Basically, you don't necessarily have to play it beforehand. That's not something you have to do. But when we're getting nearing the end of the completion, we'll kind of make sure that we share like maybe a best practice. But we really want you to be able to play the core box first and foremost and get that experience straight away, and the prequels can come afterwards and be enjoyable. So it's definitely optional which way you do it. The campaign is at $250,000. What is it? What? Okay, in dollars. Okay. Whew. I mean, well, it's going pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, this is really incredible. We are putting in euros, but we can switch it to dollars and it'll go over 250,000. Let's hit 2 million. Oh, I mean, that would be, honestly, Gary, that would be unheard of and just incredible. Like, really, that would be unbelievable. Because lots of F-bombs in Harry Potter, at least the way I read it. Thanks for answer. You're very welcome. Hopefully I answered it. Look at that jam. Yeah, just jam. Why so serious? It's quite a serious looking crime scene, but does it have a Joker vibe to it? Does it have a... Ooh, I'm not gonna show it again. Okay, do you know what? I realize I've been talking for like an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to skip through the campaign quickly, just to give a brief summary of everything. There is one thing I want to talk about, though, which I realize I haven't talked about yet. We've asked a lot of questions, quite a few questions about the campaign structure and how it carries over and how it saves. And I thought, actually, I grabbed some of these ability cards. So each character you see has their own stylized ability cards. So these are Julia's, these are Winter's, and each one has different abilities on it. And of course, on the other side, we have unique abilities that cost a certain amount of experience. But these abilities are things you will unlock, and you will have a skill tree to essentially unlock the skills that you want that will carry on from scenario to scenario. So, for example, Vampiric Rage does require you to have the Vampire of all Trades ability first. So all star results are considered a 2 result instead. And actually, while I'm talking about this is something that you'll choose and unlock and you spend experience on together. While I'm talking about that, we had a lot of questions about the dice. And could they get bought separately? And there's a big reason why we can't. Bye, Casey. Have fun. Thanks for everything. Thank you so much for being here, Casey. I'm a Supernatural fan. Will it have vibes related to that? Oh, Nicholas, yeah. This is right on the supernatural side. So here's the thing about the dice. These are not normal D6s. You do have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4, but you've also got, if I get this right, a second 3. There's actually 2 3. There's a 3 on that side and a 3 on that side, and a special symbol. So the main dice actually are not traditional D6s. There's 2 3s and the special symbol, which can be used with abilities like the one I've just shown. And also, it's a similar story for the smaller dice. And these are like normal D6 size, and then these are like super chunky, like really super chunky, highly detailed. These ones are your extra effort dice that you can choose to put into tests. These have a fleur-de-lis symbol and also a special symbol on them. And then they have 2 2s, a 1, and a 3. So unfortunately, they're not really usable in traditional D6 style, unfortunately. But my goodness, they're awesome. They're really, really awesome. How often do you plan to stream during the campaign? 2, twice, or 3 times a day? As everyone knows, if you're a Van Ryder fan and this is your first Lucky Duck Games stream or Lucky Ducks Games campaign, I love to stream. I'll always stream. People want me to stream, I'll stream. It's always going to happen. Millie says, love the artwork and how you need to play this, but maybe a bit too horror for me. Do love Lucky Duck Games and how much work they put into their games. Honestly, thank you so much. Really appreciate your energy, and thank you so much for being here. Even if the content matter is not for you, it's really lovely to have your energy. So thank you for that. Love the personalized back style for each character. Thank you, Tomer. It's a big part of what we're working on. There's a lot more to come, obviously. We're still very, very early in the entire development of the game. While the core mechanics and that rulebook, which I'll have available to share in a couple of days' time, will show you that really the core of the game is there, but we've got a lot of writing, a lot of character development, a lot of new abilities, a lot of consumables and story cards to come up with. So it's going to be a really exciting journey. Stern as voice telling us to focus is scary. Hold on a minute. Will there be a blonde, blood-stained wig add-on to roleplay as Julia Paris, or a strawberry blonde, definitely not ginger wig to play as? It's African Sunrise today, actually, that I've got in. Can you tell us what tomorrow's reveal will be? Yes, I can tell you, but I won't. Oh, Rafal says, hello, Rafal, the game director, developer, and writer. There's actually one Harry Potter-esque thing in the game, the Blinkers, who are kind of the muggles of this world. What an amazing call out. Let's talk about that for a second. So, this is a core part of the game that Rafal has mentioned, and really great. So in the world of the Dark Quarter, you have a lot of different, very deep and rich characters who really are going to play a crucial part in how the story is going to evolve. There's lots to get into in terms of the setting, and New Orleans, or Dark Orleans, as we kind of call it, does play a real key role in this as well. The Beaumont Agency is who you work for. So the Beaumont Agency are really going to give you information. They're your point of contact when you're stuck and you need support, and they've been around for hundreds of years at this point. We've also got the Laveau Corp, who kind of have their fingers in all the pies. They really tend to be involved in politics and crime and all the kind of life culture and everything happens in New Orleans. They really a typical corp, really. We've got the Cazador, who are basically like the Spanish Inquisition, but evolved for a 1980s New Orleans, and they're really a little bit suspect, if I'm honest with you. We've got the Casket Girls. Julia Paris is an ex-Casket Girl who, they're vampires, but with a bit of a sordid history in themselves, and they have a bit of an underground network that you'll have to discover. We've got the Des Saturdays, who are really worshippers of Baron Samedi, and they're really rough and tumble gangs who people really want to stay clear of. We've got the Rougarous, who are, well, they're the werewolves of our world, let's not lie. But then what Rafal was mentioning to was the Blinkers. These are the everyday people that think they see something supernatural, but whenever a shadow darts across a wall and they think they saw something or heard something they didn't, they just blink their eyes and be like, oh no, must have just been a trick of the light, it must have just been something else happening. I must have just fooled myself for a moment or got daydreaming. And these are the muggles, as Rafal puts it, or blinkers, which I absolutely adore this term. So that's yeah, Harry Potter-esque is pretty good. That was nice. Okay, do you know what? I think the Spanish Inquisition. How unexpected. Oh, Susie, that's too good. I absolutely adore it. Do you know what? I'm going to save the rest of the campaign, all the other content, for another evening. Because I think, do you know what? Andy had a really good point that I think I will be streaming many, many times, sharing much more with you all. But what has the next few days got to hold? So during the campaign, we're going to have more daily unlocks happening. So keep an eye on those. I'll tell you right now, we will have some social stretch goals for some extra little content that hopefully we can unlock nice and easily and get added into the game to upgrade it, which would be really, really wonderful. We will have a written interview from Evan and Omari talking about where the game came from and kind of talking about what the inspiration was for. And we'll also have a bit of an update talking in great detail about the very unique and very, very different, and to be honest, I'll probably do a stream that talks about it, the very different Lost to the Night expansion, which focuses on 4 characters who are not actually detectives searching for 13-year-old who's Susanna, who the NOPD are unable to find. And with Susanna's life on the line, the stakes are higher and more personal than ever. And this is taking you to a whole new place with 4 brand new characters who are not detectives, but are just really friends and close, personal knit, social family, really. And the mother of Susanna, who are going to go on their journey. We'll have an update all about this and what you can expect if you play that, and what the different kind of characters and what the swamp monster might be up to whenever you play. So yeah, there's lots to come. We've got 3 weeks and a day. We've got 22 days left in the campaign. It's only day 1. It's been a blast already. I'm going to go eat some food, then hop into the comments and see you all there. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, Eddie Har. Oh, live and from Louisiana here. And I'm excited for this. I mean, that's just tremendous. Jean Paul, thanks for your dynamicism. Jean Paul, you are super welcome. It is honestly a blessing and a treat for me to get to sit and talk with you all and spend time on stream. And thank you for all of your interactions and questions. This is what makes it super, super duper fun. So hopefully we'll have lots more of this energy. Thank you for the reveals today. You're incredibly welcome. Thank you for the live stream. Thank you, Bailey, as well. Eddie plans for the Dark Quarter crossover with Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy. Okay. What would happen if we fed a Yummy Yummy Monster? Hold on. All right, we'll find something. We'll find something a bit more nasty. Yeah, we give him a crowbar? No. Give him a voodoo doll? Oh, I don't know, Toby. That's getting into like Chucky era of like scary with the cute and fuzzy, but then the creepy horror. I'm not sure I'm on board. Natalie says, thank you for this live stream. You're amazing. Thank you, Natalie, for being here. It's a real treat to have you. And we'll have the game looks fantastic, but also it's very complicated. Will you have a short 30-minute video on how to get started playing, including character setups? You know what? Yes, I'm going to write it in my notes right now. So set up a game. Not only will we have that, we will have a rule book that I'm going to introduce you to the game. I will definitely set it up. I actually have some of it on my table here. We'll definitely do an example of how to play the game. And I promise you there'll be more gameplay videos coming during the campaign. The mechanics of the game, honestly, are very, very straightforward and simple. So do not be intimidated. Am I the only one who keeps seeing Jeff Bridges instead of Winter Mullins? Yes, Tomer. Nobody else sees Jeff Bridges. Only you. Because it's just for you. It's just for you. Thanks. Thanks. Bon appetit. Bon appetit to you. Bon nuit. You have werewolves, any vampires coming? New Orleans has tons of vampire lore and history and bars where you can drink animal blood. That's a new one for me. I didn't know that one. Wow, Eddie Har. Woo. 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 Have a good dinner. That was fun. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a blast. Have a lovely, lovely day or evening wherever you are in the world, folks. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to leave us with, if you haven't already seen it, the trailer from Oniro, the amazing company Oniro and George and his team who made this amazing Dark Quarter trailer for us. I will see you on the campaign. And until next time, have a lovely time.
New Orleans, 1981. It was the hottest summer on record. Humidity coated the city like a mass of rancid honey. If ever the city owned up to its ancient nickname, the wet grave, it was in the summer of 81. The murder was brutal and archaic. The victim, Frank Bousseau, was powerful and important. A call was placed for outside help. The NOPD wasn't above begging. The Beaumont agency was asked to consult, and that's how we got wrapped up in this mess. The freshly baked evidence file was kinda thin. Not much to chew on, but we had some leads. We scoured the city and see what we could dig up. I started at Laveau Court. They always seemed to be at the center of politics, crime, and even magic. Getting past the receptionist was a breeze, but their CEO, Charlotte Batten, was a different story. She wouldn't give me any details at first, but I pressed on her a little, and she snapped. I left her to cool off. I had something that was bugging me, something personal. The killing had similarities to Maria's murder. Breaking on the wheel was an 18th century manner of execution. This had to be a pattern. I needed to return to our home. Maybe I missed something, some connection. As I walked into the house, some thug jumped me. He got me good at first, but thankfully, I had some extra help. Those Laveau suits would need to try harder to get me off this case. Something bigger was going on, something we weren't meant to be digging into. This hired goon, those dead Saturday scumbags, the fanatics of the Inquisition. Hell, even the bloody casket girls were showing an interest in the case. And now, dark magic was starting to appear, ritualistic and sinister. How could we stand up against the very lower of death, let alone the monstrosities lurking in the shadows? There was so much more to this case than we ever imagined.